The black Rolls-Royce screeched to a halt so abruptly that the tires left thick black skid marks on the cracked asphalt road of Oak Ridge Hollow. Inside the car, Malik Vance froze completely. His knuckles turned white as he gripped the leather steering wheel tightly. His new fiancée, Keisha Morgan, adjusted her diamond necklace slowly. Her perfectly painted lips curled into a deep frown. "Babe, we are late," she snapped with sharp words that cut through the hot summer air. "Your important guest will not wait forever." This dump is not part of the tour. But Malik did not hear her at all. His eyes were locked on the figure 50 feet ahead. She bent nearly double under a massive stack of firewood. It looked impossible for one person to carry such weight. She wore ragged jeans that had holes in the knee. Her grey tea-tess was faded and stained with sweat. Her flip half-and-ups harps had cracks in the soles. Her dark skin glistened with sweat under the bright afternoon sun. Right beside her stood 3 small children, 2 boys and 1 girl. They clutched at her legs like tiny shadows. Their round faces showed deep exhaustion. Their deep brown skin matched his exactly. Their jawlines were identical to his own. They were triplets, his children. The air turned thick with silence. Only the buzz of cicadas filled the space. Keisha leaned forward. Her crimson nails tapped the window with impatience. "Malik, what is this mess? You said your ex died. You promised." He raised a hand to silence her. His throat felt tight with emotion. He had not set foot in this town for 10 long years, not since he clawed his way out of poverty with ruthless ambition. Now the past was rising like a ghost to haunt him. The woman staggered forward. Her legs trembled under the heavy load. One of the boys tripped and fell into the dirt road. She stopped immediately. Her body swayed dangerously under the weight. Villagers began gathering around them. Mrs. Thompson stood on her porch watching closely. Mr. Jenkins paused his bike ride to stare. Teenagers whispered behind their phones with shocked faces. An old woman in a floral dress shook her head slowly. She muttered words that everyone heard. Knew this day would come. Malik's chest burned with guilt. He built an empire on lies. He buried the truth under stacks of cash. He used legal tricks to hide his past. But here in the dust of his childhood neighborhood, those lies were crumbling fast. He could not look away. The triplets watched him with wide eyes full of hope and fear. The girl hid her face in her mother's torn jeans. The smaller boy stared at him without blinking. His eyes mirrored Malik's own midnight black irises. Keisha turned to him with rage in her voice. "Is this why you dragged me here? To humiliate me in front of these people?" She reached for the door handle angrily. "I am calling my lawyer right now. You think you can ruin my reputation over some ghetto drama?" Malik did not move. He could not speak a single word. His ex-wife, Naomi, finally lifted her head slowly. Her face was gaunt and lined with pain. Her eyes held no anger, only exhaustion. She had not aged well. 10 years of struggle carved deep wrinkles into her forehead. Her hair pulled back into a messy bun. Strands stuck to her damp neck. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. The silence stretched heavy and suffocating. Keisha scoffed loudly. Pathetic, she opened the car door. Her heels clicked like gunshots as she stepped onto the road. "Well, are you going to introduce us or just stand there like an idiot?" The crowd murmured louder. Mrs. Thompson raised her voice. "You left her with nothing, Malik Vance. She worked 3 jobs to feed those babies while you lived like a king. The triplets huddled closer to their mother. The girl started crying softly. The smallest boy gripped Naomi's torn jeans tightly. Malik felt his heart pound in his chest. He remembered this woman. He remembered holding her hand in college. He remembered promising her the world. Then he chose money over love. He chose power over family. Now the consequences stared him in the face. Keisha took a step toward Naomi. What do you want from us? Money. Go beg somewhere else. But Naomi did not respond. She simply looked at Malik. Her eyes asked questions he could not answer. The smaller boy pulled something from his pocket. It was a tiny crumpled photograph. It showed Malik and Naomi laughing at a park picnic years ago. On the back, in child's crayon scrawl, were the words, "Daddy, come home." The boy held it out. With trembling fingers, his lips quivered as he tried to speak. The entire scene felt like a nightmare Malik could not wake from. Naomi dropped the firewood suddenly. It hit the ground with a thunderous thud that sent dust swirling around her feet. She reached into the pocket of her ragged jeans. She pulled out a crumpled yellow envelope. It was old and stained with dirt. The address on it was written in shaky handwriting. It was his name. Malik's stomach twisted painfully. He remembered that letter clearly. He wrote it the night he threw her out of the apartment. He wrote it while she stood in the rain, with only a single suitcase. Inside were proofs of his fraud. There were forged paternity tests that he paid a doctor to create. There were threats scribbled on hotel stationery. There was a hospital record showing he denied being the father. He thought he burned that envelope years ago. But Naomi kept it safe. She held it out now, with shaking hands. "You need to see," she rasped. Her voice was rough from years of silence. It cracked like dry branches. Keisha snatched the envelope before Malik could move. She tore it open roughly. Her eyes scanned the papers quickly. Her face went pale instantly. The color drained from her cheeks. She took a step back in shock. "Malik," she whispered. Her voice trembled with fear. "This says the kids are yours. And this," she read aloud each word slowly. "If anything happens to my children, I have given these documents to Pastor James for safekeeping." The crowd erupted into chaos. Pastor James stepped forward from the group of villagers. He held up a small USB drive in his hand. "I have had this for 10 years. You have had this for 10 years, he said grimly. "Bank statements, recordings, enough to destroy everything you have built." Keisha turned to Malik with cold eyes. "You forged documents. You lied about your own kids." She backed away from him quickly. "I am done. This ruins me too." She jumped back into the car. The engine roared to life immediately. The tires squealed as she reversed. Dust flew everywhere. She sped down the road without looking back once. Malik stood frozen in place. He could not move his legs. He could not speak a single word. Naomi swayed where she stood. Her legs buckled under her weight. She grabbed for the firewood, but missed completely. Her knees hit the hard ground with a painful thud. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. The triplets screamed all at once. They rushed to her side, crying loudly. The smallest boy, the one with the birthmark on his neck, clutched at her shirt. "Mama is hurt," he whimpered softly. Naomi tried to push herself up, but her arms gave out. She collapsed fully onto the dirt road. The firewood scattered around her. For a heartbeat, the whole world stopped moving. Malik took one step forward. His Italian leather shoes crunched on the gravel. Memories flooded his mind. He saw Naomi working late at the diner while he chased venture capitalists. He saw her holding their newborn triplets with tears in her eyes as he told her he needed space. He saw the night he handed her a check for $5,000 and told her to disappear forever. He thought money could bury his guilt. But now, staring at her, still form at the terrified children who shared his blood, he felt the weight of every lie. Pastor James stepped closer to him. The USB drive glinted in the sunlight. "You have two choices," he said quietly. "Tell the truth or watch your empire fall." The triplets stopped crying suddenly. They turned to face Malik together. The girl, the two boys, all stared with mixture of hope and fear. The smallest boy pulled something else from his pocket. It was the same tiny, crumpled photograph again. He held it out with trembling fingers. His lips quivered as he tried to speak. His small voice broke the silence. The boy's words hit Malik like a punch to the gut. He fell to his knees beside Naomi. His suit jacket fell to the ground. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away quickly. "I am sorry," he choked out. His voice broke into pieces. "I am so sorry." But Naomi turned her face from him. She would not look at him. The crowd watched in complete silence. The smallest boy held out the photograph again. His small fingers trembled badly. The picture showed Malik and Naomi years younger laughing at a park picnic. They looked happy then. On the back, in child's crayon scrawl, were the words, "Daddy, come home." Malik felt tears burn his eyes. He had not cried since he was a child. Now, he could not stop the tears from falling. The triplets watched him closely. The girl wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. The other two boys moved closer to their mother. Naomi's eyes fluttered open slowly. She saw Malik kneeling beside her. She saw the tears on his face. She saw the fear in his eyes. But she did not speak. She only looked at him. Her gaze was like a knife cutting through his soul. Pastor James cleared his throat loudly. "The documents go public at 6 p.m. tonight. You have less than 2 hours to make a choice." He turned and walked away. The villagers began to disperse slowly. Mrs. Thompson shook her head one last time. Should have done right by her long ago. Keisha's car disappeared down the road. The dust settled slowly. Malik stood up shakily. He looked at his children again. They were dirty and hungry. Their clothes were torn and old. But their eyes were full of something he could not name. Hope maybe, or pain. He reached into his pocket for his phone. He needed to call his lawyer. He needed to fix this mess. But his phone was gone. He left it in the car. The car was gone too. Keisha took it with her. He had nothing now. No money. No power. Just the truth. Naomi tried to stand up slowly. She grabbed the firewood again. She needed to get home. She needed to feed the kids. The smallest boy looked at Malik again. His birthmark stood out clearly. It was exactly like Malik's own. The boy whispered softly. "We waited so long." Malik felt his heart break completely. He had no words left to say. He had no excuses left to give. The sun began to set slowly. Shadows stretched across the road. The moment felt heavy with unspoken threats. The truth had claws, and it was tearing him apart piece by piece. He knew what he had to do, but doing it would cost everything he built. Naomi finally stood up with great effort. She grabbed the firewood tightly. She turned to leave, without another word. The triplets followed her closely. They did not look back at Malik. He watched them walk away. Each step felt like a punch to his chest. He remembered the first time he held Naomi's hand. He remembered the first time he saw the triplets. They were born premature. They weighed less than 5 pounds each. He visited them in the hospital every day for 1 week. Then he got a better business deal. He chose the deal over his family. He told himself they would be fine without him. He told himself money would fix everything. But now, standing alone in the dust, he knew the truth. Money could not fix this. Power could not fix this. Only the truth could set them free. Pastor James walked back to the group of villagers. He held the USB drive high in the air. The world will know everything at 6 p.m. sharp. Make peace with your gods. He did not look at Malik again. The old woman in the floral dress muttered under her breath. Truth always finds a way. Malik felt the weight of her words. He had to act fast. He had to tell the truth now. But telling the truth meant losing everything. His billions would vanish. His name would be dragged through the mud. His reputation would be destroyed forever. Yet, as he watched Naomi disappear down the road with his children, he knew what he had to do. He turned toward the village. He needed to find Pastor James. He needed to get the USB drive. He needed to stop the leak before it was too late. But as he took his first step, a hand grabbed his arm roughly. It was Mrs. Thompson. Her eyes were hard like stone. You think you can fix this with money? Think again. She let go of him slowly. Malik felt fear grip his heart. He had enemies in this town. He made many when he left. They would not forgive him easily. He had to move carefully. He had to plan his next move wisely. The clock ticked loudly in his head. 6 p.m. was coming fast. The truth would be out soon. He had one last chance to make things right. But as he turned to run after Naomi, a shadow moved behind him. A figure stepped from the alleyway. It was a man in a black hoodie. His face was hidden. He held something shiny in his hand. It looked like a gun. Malik froze in place. His heart pounded in his chest. The man spoke in a low voice. You took everything from me once. Now it is my turn. The world spun around Malik. He could not breathe. He could not think. The past had come back to haunt him, and it was armed. The screen fades to black as the man cocks the gun. Smash that subscribe button now. This is just the beginning of the drama. Will Malik survive? Hit the bell and comment "Goon Shots" below. The cold metal of the gun pressed hard against Malik Van's temple. His breath stopped. The figure in the black hoodie stepped closer, the smell of sweat and old smoke filling Malik's lungs. The alleyway shadows wrapped around them like a noose. The man pulled back his hood slowly. Scars marked his dark face. Devin Carter served his former best friend from Oak Ridge Hollow. 10 years ago, they built Malik's first tech startup together in Devin's basement. Malik had promised him 20% of the company. Then hid on forged documents, erased Devin's name, and left him with student loans that ruined his life. Devin's eyes burned with hate. You don't remember me, do you? He growled. Malik's mind raced. All his billions, his lawsuits, his private security teams meant nothing here. This was raw. Real. Devin cocked the gun. The sound echoed off the brick walls like thunder. But I'm not here to kill you. Not yet. She sent me. Malik's heart froze. Start mail. the woman who carried Firewood like a prisoner, the mother of his triplets. Devon leaned in, his breath hot on Malik's face. She said, "You need to see what your money couldn't fix. Tonight, you come with me, or I start shooting, and it won't be at." He nodded toward the road. Naomi stood there, the three children clinging to her legs. The smallest boy waved weakly, his tiny hand trembling. Devon tightened his finger on the trigger. "Choose." Now, Malik's suit felt like a coffin. He raised his hands, palms shaking. "Okay." Oh, tasted like poison. Devon grabbed his arm, yanking him toward the street. The triplets watched. Silent, Naomi didn't move. Her face was blank, but her eyes, God eyes, held a fire he couldn't name. Devon shoved him forward. "Walk, and if you scream, I put a bullet in her leg first." Every step felt like walking into hell. The village lights flickered overhead. Children played on porches. Normal life, his old life, he traded it for penthouses and champagne. Now the past had teeth, and it was biting deep. Devon spoke through clenched teeth. Simple sold Firewood for 3 years. 3 jobs, night shifts at the diner, cleaning offices at midnight, folding laundry for rich folks who throw coins. You think those kids eat steak? They eat rice and canned beans. The girl has asthma. You ever pay for her medicine? Malik's throat closed. He'd paid for his asthma medicine as a kid, back when his single mother scrubbed floors. He'd promised himself he'd never let anyone suffer like that. Yet here he was. Guilt clawed at his chest like a beast. They reached Naomi. Up close, she looked broken. Her hands were raw, bleeding from splinters. The girl coughed weakly into her rag of a shirt. Devon shoved a hospital bill into Malik's hand, $420, dated last month. A stack of unpaid invoices sat beside it. Your kids need this, Devon hissed. But you're gonna earn. Malik's suit felt like a prison now. He raised his hands slowly, palms trembling. Okay. The word was barely a whisper. Devon grabbed his arm hard, fingers digging into his skin, and yanked him toward the road where Naomi stood with the triplets. The children watched silently, their small faces lit by the dim street light. The smallest boy, the one with the birthmark on his neck, the same birthmark Malik saw in the mirror every morning, waved weakly. His tiny hand shook like autumn leaves. Devon's voice turned cold. Walk, and if you scream, I put a bullet in her leg first. Every step felt like walking into a grave. The village lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows on the cracked pavement. Children played on porches, their laughter sharp against the tension. A dog barked somewhere. Normal life. His old life. He traded it for penthouses and champagne flutes clinking in New York towers. Now the past had teeth, and it was tearing him apart. Devon spoke through clenched teeth. She sold Firewood for 3 years. 3 jobs. Night shifts at the diner from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., cleaning offices at midnight, folding laundry for rich folks who throw coins like trash. You think those kids eat steak? They eat rice and canned beans. The girl has asthma. You ever pay for her medicine? Malik's throat closed tight. He remembered his own childhood, his mother scrubbing floors, the asthma inhaler she saved for months to buy. He promised himself he'd never let anyone suffer like that. Yet here he was, the billionaire, who'd forgotten where he came from. Guilt clawed at his chest, sharp and relentless. They reached Naomi. Up close, she looked like a ghost. Her hands were raw, fingers split open from carrying logs. Blood stained her torn jeans. The girl, no older than 6, coughed weakly into her rag of a shirt, her small chest heaving. Devin shoved a crumpled hospital bill into Malik's hand, Ortu's $20, dated last month. A stack of unpaid invoices sat beside it, each one marked overdue. Your kids need this, Devin hissed, his voice low and dangerous. But you're gonna learn it. The words hit Malik like a slap. He looked at the triplets. The boy with his birthmark stared up, his eyes wide and unblinking. The girl hid her face in Naomi's leg. The third child, a boy with a scar above his brow, clutched a tiny toy truck, rusty, missing wheels. Malik's vision blurred. He'd missed first cursed words, birthdays. Now he stood here, the man who'd abandoned them, trembling under a gun. Devin leaned closer. Carry the firewood, all of it, to my truck. And you do it. Quietly. Naomi finally spoke. Her voice was wind over gravel. Devin. No. She reached out, touching his arm. The triplets huddled closer, their small bodies shaking. The smallest boy buried his face in her leg. Devin didn't flinch. He needs to understand. He turned to Malik, his face inches away. You're going to carry the firewood, all of it, to my truck, and you'll do it quietly. The stack was massive, white Naomi had managed earlier. Malik's muzzles burned just looking at it. His Italian shoes, polished to perfection that morning, felt useless on the dirt road. Why? The word escaped him, weak and broken. Devin smirked. Because you owed me a 20% cut, and you're gonna pay to it. Okay. Naomi stepped back, her eyes looking onto Malik's. No forgiveness there, just expectation. He bent down, fingers curling around the rough bark of the first log. It felt like stone. His palms bled by the 10th log. The triplets watched, silent as shadows. The girl whispered, Daddy's strong. Naomi shushed her sharply. Malik's vision blurred. Daddy, the word gutted him. He'd missed first words, birthdays locked away in penthouse suites. Now he hauled wood like an animal, his pride crumbling with every step. Sweat dripped into his eyes, mixing with dirt. Devin stood guard, gun hidden, but ready. Villagers whispered from doorways. Mrs. Thompson shook her head, her voice carrying. Should have stayed when you had the chance. Malik deserved every syllable. He carried log after log, his back screaming. The smallest boy counted each trip. 1, 2, 3. By the time the truck bed was full, Malik's hands were raw, his suit soaked. The girl coughed again, a ragged sound that cut deeper than any insult. Devin tossed him a water bottle. Thirsty? Malik drank greedily. The water tasted like rust and regret. Why stop now? Devin asked, kicking the empty bottle aside. Tomorrow, you work at the diner. Breakfast shift. 6 a.m. You wear this. He threw a faded apron at Malik's feet. It had grease stains, a rip down the middle. And you tip every customer who looks hungry. Malik stared. The apron felt like a noose. You can't? Devin thought in, voice like steel. And if you skip one day, I release the USB drive early. Pastor James won't wait for 6 p.m. By midnight, the firewood filled Devin's pickup bed. Malik's back screamed in protest. His hands were raw, palms split open from the rough bark, blood mixed with sweat staining his ruined shirt. Naomi stood at the edge of the road, arms crossed tight against the cold night air. The triplets slept in a pile of threadbare blankets on her lap, their small chests rising and falling like fragile birds. Devin tossed him a water bottle. Thirsty? Malik drank greedily. The water tasted like rust and regret. Why stop now? Devin asked, kicking the empty bottle aside. Tomorrow, you work at the diner. Breakfast shift. 6 a.m. You wear this. He threw a faded apron at Malik's feet. It had grease stains, a rip down the middle, and you'll tip times every Oz customer who looks hungry. Malik stared at the apron. It felt like a noose. You can't it, Evan, caught in, his voice like steel. Arnold, if you skip one day, I release the USB drive early. Pastor James won't wait for 6 p.m. The threat hung in the air, thick as smoke. Malik looked at Naomi. She gave nothing, no hope, no mercy, just silence. He nodded, too exhausted to argue. Devin grinned. Good, now get out of my sight. Malik turned, but Naomi's voice stopped him. It was barely a whisper. Malik. He froze. She held out a crumpled envelope. Isn't the law? The one with the forged paternity tests. Burn this, or I'll show the kids what you really are. He took it. The paper felt alive, like it could bite. She turned away, rocking the triplets. The smallest boy stirred, mumbling in his sleep, Daddy's here. Naomi kissed his forehead, her lips trembling. No, baby. Sleep. Malik's chest tightened. He stumbled back to where his Rolls Royce should have been. Keisha's abandoned car, but it was gone. Tires slashed. Windows smashed. A note lay on the hood, scrawled in red marker. Panger can't hide you. Pulled out his phone. No signal. Devin had jammed it. Big panic rose in his throat. Then his pocket buzz in his throat. Then his pocket buzz an old flip phone. He'd word. This from an unknown number. Piams has money. Canish rose in his throat. The me leaked early. His empire would collapse in 3 hours. He looked toward Naomi's ramshackle house. Lights were out. The triplets needed food. They needed to act. But as he turned, blue and white police lights flooded the street. An officer stepped out, hand on his holster. Malik Vance, we need you downtown. Fraud charges. And child abandonment. The officer's voice cut through the silence like a knife. Malik froze, his raw hands clenching at his sides. The police car idled behind him, its lights painting the street in flashing blues and whites. The officer, a broad-shouldered man with a badge glinting under the street lamp, took a step forward. Step away from the vehicle, sir. Malik's mind reeled. Fraud charges. Child abandonment. The words echoed in his skull. He dodged lawsuits, outmaneuvered rivals. But this was different. This was different. Naomi stood at her porch now, the triplets awake and clinging to her legs. Their wide eyes reflected the police lights. The smallest boy, birthmark visible even in the dark, reached out a tiny hand. Daddy? He whispered. Naomi shushed him, but her eyes locked onto Malik's. No judgment, just weariness. The officer grabbed his arm roughly. You'll come quietly, right? Don't make this harder. Malik nodded, too stunned to resist. As the cuffs clicked around his wrist, his phone buzzed again. Another text. Times 3 p.m. The world knows. The USB drive. Pastor James wouldn't wait. His billions would vanish by sunset. The officer pushed him into the back seat. Through the window, he saw Devin watching from the alley, a smirk on his scarred face. Naomi turned away, carrying the triplets inside. The door slammed. The engine roared. The car pulled away, leaving Malik staring at the house, the only home his children had ever known. And as the police lights faded into the night, one thought burned in his mind. He'd lost everything before he'd even begun to fight. The screen cuts to black as the officer mutters, "You should stay buried. Snatchers subscribe. Now will Malik surrender everything? Hit the bell and come on, Zahahim." The police car's tires screeched as it pulled away from Oak Ridge Hollow. Malik Vance sat crumpled in the back seat, handcuffs biting into his wrists. The officer's radio crackled with urgent static. "More units, stand by. USB drive leak confirmed. Media storm incoming. Stomach dropped. 3 p.m. Less than 2 hours. His billions, his name, his termed life, his billions, his name's life." "You're the billionaire, right? The one on TV." Malik didn't answer. Memories flooded him, signing papers that erased Naomi, firing lawyers to silence whispers, telling Keisha his ex was dead. Lies, all lies. Outside, streetlights blurred into streaks. The triplets' faces burned in his mind. The boy with his birthmark, the girl's asthma inhaler, the toddler who whispered, "I think daddy's here." He built skyscrapers but couldn't build a cradle. The radio spat another alert. Malik Vance's fraud scandal. Documents prove paternity fraud. Embezzlement. His Tatum Devon's voice echoed, "Earn it in sweat. Now he'd earn it in shame." The car swerved into the police station parking lot. Sirens wailed in the distance. Reporters already gathering. The officer yanked the door open. Out, slowly. Malik stumbled onto the pavement. Camera flashes exploded like gunfire. "Did you abandon your kids? Is the USB drive real?" He ducked his head, but the questions stabbed deeper than the cuffs. Naomi stood at the station steps. The triplets huddled against her legs, their eyes wide, terrified. She met his gaze. No words, just silence that screamed, "Tato." Naomi stepped forward, her ragged jeans scraping the concrete. The triplets clung to her legs, the girl coughing, the boys gripping her torn shirt. Malik's breath. He'd last seen them as newborns, swaddled in hospital blankets. Now they were ghosts of his mistakes. "You came back too late," she said, voice like gravel. The officer gripped Malik's arm, but Naomi leaned closer. "They asked for you every night, even when we ate plain rice. Even when the rent was due." The girl wheezed, clutching her chest. Malik remembered promising her a pony for her 6th birthday. A lie. Another lie. Reporters shouted, microphones thrust like weapons. "How could you hide triplets' children? Is your new fiancée involved?" Keisha's name made Naomi flinch. She knew she spat. She took money to keep quiet. The words gutted him. His perfect engagement, his champagne celebrations, all funded by betrayal. The officer dragged him toward booking. "Move." Malik resisted, eyes locked on the smallest boy. The child's birthmark glowed under the station lights. "His birthmark." The boy whispered, "Daddy's sorry." Naomi shushed him harshly. "No, sorry." The radio blared again. For Malik Vance's assets frozen. Stock plummets 80%. His empire was dust, and the worst was coming. The holding cell reeked of sweat and despair. Malik slumped on the metal bench, cuffs cold against his skin. Outside, news vans choked the streets. Billionaire's secret triplets spark national outrage. He traded his soul for boardroom glory. Now the price was due. Footsteps echoed. Devin Carter stood at the bars, smirking. His scarred face glowed under fluorescent lights, enjoying the show. Devin slid her phone through the bars or live news. The screen showed Pastor James holding the USB drive. This proves Malik Vance stole his children's mother, forged legal documents, and laundered millions. Malik groaned. You set this up. Devin laughed. They set it up. Naomi, me, even your mother tests it. So Bill, so the Mago Chum disowned you years ago, Devin said. Said you'd become a monster. The words struck like bullets. His childhood, his mother working double shifts, her hands, raw, flashed behind his eyes. He'd bought her a mansion, but never visited. Now she'd helped bury him. The phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Sister, fix it, or they lose the house. Naomi's rent was overdue. If he didn't pay by midnight, they'd be homeless. Devin leaned closer. You have one choice. Confess, live on TV. Admit everything, or watch them sleep in that dumpster behind the... A shadow fell across the cell bars. Keisha Morgan stood there, her diamond earrings gone, her red lipstick faded. Let me help you, she said softly. Malik recoiled. You helped her know. She flinched. I didn't know about the kids. I swear. Her voice cracked. My lawyers say if you confess, I might keep my shares. But if you don't... She trailed off, pulling out her phone. A video played I Fair meeting with Devin months ago, handing him cash. I took money to hide the truth. She whispered, I'm sorry. Malik turned away. Save it. But Keisha pressed on. Pastor James will let you speak at the 6 p.m. broadcast. Tell the truth. Save your children. The offer hung in the air. Confess and maybe save the triplets, or stay silent and watch them lose everything. Outside, the news anchor announced Malik Van's ex-wife, Naomi, will speak tonight. Exclusive interview. Malik's knees buckled. Naomi would tell the world how he'd abandoned her, how he'd let her starve, how the triplets ate leftovers from dumpster. He had to act. Now, Keisha slid a key through the bars. Run. I'll stall the cops for 5 minutes. Go to the TV station. Malik sprinted down back alleys, the key burning in his palm. Sirens wailed behind him. The TV station loomed ahead, its lights blazing. Pastor James waited at the entrance, USB drive in hand. You are late, he said coldly. But you will speak first. Malik nodded, chest heaving. Inside, cameras rolled. The anchor gestured to the live feed. Biking news. Malik Vance surrenders. But as he stepped toward the microphone, gunshots echoed. Devin burst through the door, firing at the ceiling. Too late. He ride or drive online. Screens nationwide flashed. Smell like Vance, Monster Oman. The anchor screamed. Gunfire rang out. Malik dove as a bullet grazed his arm. Blood soaked his shirt. Through the chaos, he saw Naomi on the station's back lot, the triplets crying in her arms. The smallest boy pointed at the live broadcast screen, his face feeling it, confessing every scene. Then the feed cut. Started. Silence. The boy whispered, Daddy's gone. The screen fades to black as gunfire echoes. Smash subscribe now. Will Malik survive the truth? HTTF Bell and Onmez GUNFI. The bullet wound throbbed like fire under Malik Vance's arm as he pressed himself against the cold brick wall of the alley behind the TV station. Blood soaked his rimed shirt, sticky and warm. Sirens wailed in the distance, police, ambulances, reporters. The smell of gunpowder still hung in the air. Through a crack in the wall, he watched Naomi stand alone in the station's back lot, the triplets huddled against her legs. The smallest boy, the one with his birthmark, clutched a ragged teddy bear, tears streaking his dirty cheeks. Malik's breath came in shallow gasps. He'd lost everything, his billions, his name, his freedom. But these children who'd never known his face, this was the only thing that mattered now. A shadow moved near Naomi. A man in a black uniform stepped from a sleek black SUV, badge glinting. Social services. Malik's stomach twisted. He'd read the documents in Pastor James's USB drive. Naomi struggled to keep the kids, the endless bills, the threat of foster care. If they took them now, he'd never see them again. The social worker raised a hand, gesturing for Naomi to step forward. She stiffened, pulling the girl closer. The child coughed, a wet, rattling sound. Asthma. No inhaler. Malik's legs trembled. He had to move. But every step sent pain screaming through his arm. The social worker spoke, voice sharp. "Ma'am, we need to check the children's living conditions." Immediately, Naomi's eyes flicked to the alley thought on him. She didn't speak, didn't cry, just stared, silent as stone. The social worker tapped her clipboard. "We have concerns about neglect." Malik's chest tightened. He'd neglected everything. His children's birthdays. Their first steps. Their very existence. The smallest boy whispered, "Daddy's bleeding." Naomi shushed him, but her eyes never left Malik. The social worker's walkie-talkie crackled. "Timavine in 2 minutes." The triplets clung tighter. The girl wheezed, her small fingers digging into Naomi's shirt. Malik could hear her struggling to breathe. He could see the fear in their eyes. His children, scared of the system he'd created. The alley felt like a cage. He had no money, no power, no way to stop this. But he couldn't stand there and watch them taken. He inhaled sharply, pain flaring through his arm. He had to try, even if it cost him his life. Naomi's voice cut through the night like broken glass. "You think you can fix this with money?" She stood 3 feet from Malik now, the triplets clinging to her legs like tiny lifelines. The social worker lingered nearby. Clipboard in hand, Malik opened his mouth, but no words came. His lies had built empires. His silence had destroyed hers. She stepped closer, her ragged jeans scraping the paper. 10 years ago, you signed papers saying I abandoned them. You called me a drunk, a deadbeat. Her eyes burned. But you know the truth. You paid the doctor to fake the paternity test. You paid the judge to erase me. The smallest boy whimpered, burying his face in her leg. The girl coughed again, clutching her chest. Malik's throat tightened. It mathematically it don't come to my one name Central Park. He never bought this towns. In disowning, he choked out. The words felt useless. Naomi laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Sorry doesn't pay rent. Sorry doesn't pay rent. Sorry doesn't bring back the nights I cried myself to sleep because you chose a deal over your own flesh and blood. The social worker cleared her throat. Mom, we need to proceed. Naomi ignored her. You want to be their father now? After everything? The triplets watched him, wide-eyed. The boy with the birthmark whispered, Daddy's hurt? The social worker's clipboard clattered to the ground. Your assets are frozen, Mr. Vance, she said coldly, picking it up. The state will sell your properties tomorrow. This house included. Naomi's ramshackle home, the only place the triplets had ever known, would be gone by dawn. Malik's vision blurred. He'd once negotiated billion-dollar mergers in his sleep. Now he couldn't negotiate times this. The girl's coughing fit worsened. She collapsed against Naomi, small body shaking. No inhaler, no medicine, just the dirt road and the cold nights. Malik fumbled in his pockets. Empty. His phone was gone. His credit cards useless. The social worker pulled out a walkie-talkie. Transports arriving in 5 minutes. Prepare the children for evaluation. Naomi's knees buckled. She sank to the pavement, the triplets tumbling into her lap. The smallest boy grabbed Malik's hand, tiny fingers warm against his bloody skin. "Don't let them take us," he whispered. Malik's heart shattered. He did wars around his heart for years. Now, across the street, Devin watched from the shadows, arms crossed. This was his plan all along. Break Malik piece by piece. And it was working. The social worker tapped her foot. "Time is running out, Mr. Vance." A car door slammed. Blue lights flashed. A white van pulled into the lot. Child Protective Services. Driver stepped out, keys jingling. "Naomi Carter, we have custody orders." Malik lunged forward, pain exploding in his arm. "Wait, please." The social worker narrowed her eyes. "Are you the father?" He nodded, sweat dripping down his face. "Then you need to prove it." "Legally?" The words hit like a brick. "Prove it." The USB drive sat in Pastor James's hands, evidence of his fraud. If he used it, the triplets might stay, but his name would be ruined forever. If he didn't, they'd be gone in minutes. Naomi rocked the children, humming a lullaby he didn't recognize. The van's back doors opened. Inside, 2 social workers waited, clipboards ready. The smallest boy started crying. "Don't leave us, Daddy." Malik fell to his knees. "He'll get the papers, I swear." The social worker checked her watch. "You have 10 minutes. She turned to Naomi. "Gather their things." Naomi stood slowly, the triplets clinging like ivy. She met Malik's gaze. No anger, no hope, just a question. "Can you save them?" Sabahas. The van's engine rumbled to life. Malik stumbled toward the TV station doors. Pastor James was still inside, USB drive in hand. But as he reached for the handle, Keisha appeared, blocking his path. Her red lipstick was smudged, her diamond earrings gone. "Too late," she said softly. In her hand, she held a phone. A live feed played. Naomi's interview, already streaming online. The anchor's voice blared. "Mono's exclusive. Billionaire's ex-wife reveals years of abuse." On screens, Naomi spoke, voice steady. "He stole my children. He stole my life." The triplets sat beside her, the smallest boy staring at the camera, his birthmark clear to millions. Keisha smiled sadly. "You lost, Malik. Even if you save them now, they'll always know what you did." The van doors slammed. The engine roared. The social workers guided Naomi toward the vehicle. The boy reached out, fingers straining. "Daddy." Malik sprinted, but Keisha grabbed his injured arm. Pain exploded. He collapsed as the van pulled away, tires screeching. Through the rear window, the smallest boy pressed his palm against the glass, his birthmark glowing in the dark. Then the van vanished. The screen fades to black as Malik screams, "I'll find you." The alley echoed with the roar of engines as Malik Vance pressed the smallest boy against his chest, the child's birthmark burning into his skin like a brand. Police cars blocked both ends, lights flashing red and blue. Devin Carter stood at the center, gun aimed, his scarred face twisted in triumph. "End of the road to Billionaire," he jeered. Malik's arm throbbed from the bullet graze, but the triplets' terrified whispers all drowned every pain. Naomi's stolen sedan idled behind him, doors wide. The girl coughed violently in the backseat, her tiny hands clawing at her throat. Malik's son whimpered. Mama said to trust you. The words gutted him. He'd spent years building walls. Now he'd tear them down with his bare hands. Devin fired a warning shot. Concrete splintered near Malik's feet. Last chance. Hand over the kid, or the USB drive goes public and I kill you. Malik tightened his grip on the boy. 10 years of lies had led here. He wouldn't beg. He'd bite. The girl's coughing fit worsened. She gasped for air, her face turning red. Malik remembered the inhaler buried in the trunk. He bought it weeks ago, hiding it like a secret promise. The smallest boy trembled, tears soaking Malik's shirt. Don't let him hurt us, the child whispered. Malik's chest tightened. He'd missed first steps, first words, first everything. Now he stood between his children and a man who would ruin them. Devin stepped closer, the gun glinting. You think you're a father? You are nothing? Malik's jaw clenched. He'd built empires with colder logic than this. But empires crumbled. Kind, smothered. Naomi revved the engine, her eyes locked on Malik. No fear, no mercy. Just resolve. She slammed her palm on the horn, a blaring signal. The mass here, Malik's breath hitched. Naomi had always been the warrior, raising 3 babies alone while he chased billions. Now she stood with him. Naomi slammed her foot on the gas pedal, and the sedan lurched forward like a beast unleashed. It crashed into Devin's legs with a sickening thud, sending him sprawling against a rusted dumpster. The gun clattered across the alley, lost in shadows. Police officers shouted, "What, sir?" Tolosa Tassa, but Malik didn't wait. He scooped the smallest boy into his arms, the child's heart pounding like a drum against his chest. "Hold on tight," he whispered, voice cracking. The girl scrambled into the back seat, inhaler in hand. He'd hidden it there after buying it from a 24-hour pharmacy, praying for this moment. She took 2 puffs, her ragged breaths easing. The twins piled in, clinging to Naomi. Malik dove into the passenger seat as bullets pinged off the trunk. Tires squealed. They barreled through the roadblock, news vans swerving aside like leaves in a storm. Sirens wailed behind them, but Naomi weaved through side streets, her hands white corn knuckle wheel. The triplets shouted, "Go, Mama, go." Malik turned to watch them. Dirty faces, torn clothes, but alive. His children, times, flesh and blood. The girl hugged the inhaler tight, her eyes shut in relief. The smallest boy pressed his palm against Malik's cheek. "You're here," he murmured. Malik kissed his forehead. "I'm never leaving." The police faded behind them. For 10 years, he'd run from guilt. Now he ran towards something, redemption. The drive to the courthouse felt like a lifetime. Malik clutched the USB drive in his pocket. Truth, Pastor James had slipped it to him that morning, whispering, "Fix this." Now, standing before a judge, Malik's voice shook. "I forged documents. I denied my children. I betrayed the only woman who ever loved me." The courtroom buzzed. Keisha stormed in, surprising everyone. "He was telling the truth," she declared, dropping bank statements on the judge's desk. "I took money to hide it. I am guilty too." The judge banged his gavel. Charges against Naomi and Malik dismissed. Custody restored. Malik's knees buckled. Naomi gripped his hand. "Call out strong. You fight for them now?" she asked. He nodded. "Every day." The triplets shared the smallest boy yelling. Family castled house last. The scandal would fade. The pain would linger. But here, in this courtroom, Malik Vance had finally come home. The girl hugged his leg. "You are daddy," she said. He blinked back tears. "Always." Naomi squeezed his shoulder. He loved the broken sound. Dons. The judge dismissed them. They walked out hand in hand, the triplets skipping. Devon sat in jail. Keisha started fresh. Pastor James smiled. But here, in the sun, Malik held his children close. That night, Oak Ridge Hollow slept quietly. Malik sat on Naomi's porch, the triplets curled in his lap. The girl traced his birthmark. "Same as mine," she mumbled. He kissed her forehead to them. "Same heart." Naomi joined them, handing him a letter. His mother forgiveness. Maldat's eyes burned. He'd rebuilt empires in days. Rebuilding to... Naomi rested her head on his shoulder. "No more lies." He vowed. "No more running." The triplets drifted to sleep, their breath steady. For the first time in a decade, Malik felt peace. Not from wealth, not from power. From half this, a family stitched together by regret and grace. The stars blinked above. Somewhere, Devon rotted in jail. Keisha rebuilt her life. Pastor James watched from his church. But here, in the quiet, Malik held his children close. The billionaire had lost everything and gained the world. The smallest boy stirred, mumbling, "Daddy's home." Malik whispered, "Forever." Naomi smiled, tired but soft. "You stay?" He nodded. "Even if you hate me." She shook her head. "Hate's for people who don't try." The girl sighed in her sleep. The twins snuggled closer. Malik's chest ached with love. He'd sold his penthouse, donated half his fortune. Now he worked at the diner mornings, serving pancakes to neighbors who once shone. The sun rose over Oak Ridge Hollow, painting the sky in gold. Malik watched Naomi laugh as the triplets chased butterflies in the yard, his own children, free. He'd sold his penthouse, donated half his fortune. Now he worked at the diner mornings, serving pancakes to neighbors who once shunned him. "Daddy's strong," the smallest boy declared, hugging his legs. Malik squeezed back. "We're strong," as Naomi joined. "Still scared?" she teased. He grinned, terrified. "But I'll stay." She leaned in, their foreheads touching. The triplets squealed, group hug, as cameras rolled. Zara moment. Billionaire's redemption. The screen fades as Malik whispers, "Forever." Smash subscribe now. Their journey continues. Hit a bell and Omar family for more heartwarming story.